Welcome to another Scotland Today episode, where on this day, 31st of March 1896, Ellen Hannah attempted to take her own life after carrying out a triple murder. Trigger warning, this episode involves crimes against children and covers the topic of suicide, so listener discretion is advised. On this day, the 31st of March 1896, a dark and heartbreaking tragedy unfolded in the quiet suburb of Pollokshaws in Glasgow. It was a day that would forever stain the streets of Wilson Street with sorrow and disbelief. Ellen Hannah, a woman described by neighbours as reserved and deeply devoted to her children, was battling a heavy melancholy that had clouded her mind for some time. Married for nearly a decade to Jacob Hannah, an iron turner, Ellen was mother to 5 children, though it was the youngest 3 who would be caught in the grip of an unimaginable horror. Earlier that afternoon, Ellen was met on the communal stairs by a neighbour, Mrs. Lindsay, who said Ellen had looked very dull, had complained about a headache, and had said that it will not always last. With Mrs. Lindsay thinking that Ellen had meant the fact that her children were delicate in health, a circumstance which gave Ellen great pain and preyed on her mind a lot, would not last forever. But the darkness within Ellen's mind was far from fleeting. At around 2 o'clock, a desperate knocking echoed through the McDougall flat, downstairs neighbours of the Hannahs. Daniel McDougall, a shoemaker, was working at his desk as Ellen opened their flat door and came in, clutching a razor, her hands and dress stained with blood, and wearing a strange expression. She begged Daniel to sharpen the blade, but the sight of the wound on her neck and the blood told a grim story. Ellen had tried to take her own life. Daniel took the razor from Ellen's hand while his mother procured a chair for her. As neighbours gathered in the McDougall's flat, and Ellen Hannah was heard to say that she could not get the other 2, suspicion grew that something terrible had happened to the children. Upon 2 neighbours entering the Hannah's flat, the scene was one of utter devastation. The 3 youngest children, James only 6 weeks old, Daniel just over a year, and William nearly 3, lay lifeless, their throats cruelly cut. The Hannah's oldest boy had been playing outside, and their oldest girl had been at school at the time of the horrific attack. Ellen was taken to the police station and then to Victoria Infirmary. Her own neck wound, a mere 1/4 of an inch in length, but a symbol of the torment that had driven her to this act. The community was left grappling with the horror, struggling to reconcile the image of a respectable and loving mother with the brutal reality of the crime. At her court appearance, Ellen's fragile state was evident, with it being reported that she looked dazed and frightened. Medical experts declared Ellen Hannah's mind unhinged, overwhelmed by melancholy and despair, and thus it was determined she would not receive judicial examination, but be committed straight to prison. Much sympathy was expressed for both Ellen and her husband Jacob, who was at work when the tragedy struck. This was a day marked by sorrow, a grim reminder of the shadows that can fall even in the most ordinary lives. Other tragic murder-suicide cases we have covered was our episode titled Murder-Suicide at Their Feet, which was released on the 14th of March 2023. Whether you're a new listener or a long-time follower, this 2-story episode, while harrowing to hear, is so important to listen to. Thank you for listening. We hope you join us for another Scotland Today episode. But until then, look after yourselves and keep an eye on the shadows.